Welcome to another edition of the LPA Podcast. I'm Sean Woolley, Managing Director of Cloud9 Spain, a Spanish real estate company here on the Costa del Sol. And I'm also, for my sins, a committee member of the LPA. With me today, I have an esteemed group of participants. I have Miguel Manzanares, who is the head honcho at Manzanares Lawyers, leading law firm here on the Costa del Sol, and Mia Perlman, who's the Managing Director of Affinity Property Group and also Fine & Country Costa del Sol. Wow. What we're here to do today is just to have a quick spin around how the year has started. So a quick market update, really, see if it differs at all to what we experienced this time last year, if we can remember, and also where we think the market's heading. Can we see any headwinds coming into us, or can we feel any tailwinds pushing us along? I'll start with you, Miguel, because we don't often get the chance to ask a lawyer for their perspective in terms of market activity. But has the year started well for you in terms of transaction numbers?
The year has started really well. Of course, it's been disappointing. The weather's been conditioning many families about plans of coming over, and consequently the number of transactions have reduced slightly because of the weather. But even besides the weather conditions that we had, there's been a good number of deals, a good number of transactions. I would say that we have in Costa del Sol destination of lifestyle, and especially in the resale market, the people are coming over, looking at several different options, and therefore they need to see, they need to visualize, they need to feel the ambience, the surrounding areas, the views, and the number of factors that you can only appreciate if you have a kind of good weather. It doesn't need to be super sunny and bright, but at least not those heavy rains that we had to suffer, right? And so that maybe that portion of the market has suffered in numbers of deals, and we see, but the rest of more orientated towards the investments and off-plan developments and these kind of things have been working relatively well.
How does it compare to last year? This time, is it roughly similar? Because 2025 was, I think you told me it was a fantastic year for Manzanares Lawyers.
Yeah, it was the best year ever. The best year ever. We are Manzanares Lawyers have 30 years old company with so many different type of years, right? So in the last 30 years, many things that we've seen a very analogical real estate market. We went to a very British real estate market when big UK platforms were operating down here in the coast, and those platforms were going systematically to the UK to be part of big exhibitions, road shows, and a lot of that. So we went through that in a kind of evolution towards a market much more diverse. Then we went to the global recession after Lehman Brothers collapse, and then we went to a new era where very much more diverse. So we've been through these 30 years of many type of, and 25 was for us, for Manzanares, a very good year, was the best year actually. And I want to believe as well that we have a quite correct thermometer of what's going on in the market, because being present so many years, being well known and collaborating with such a big number of agencies and developers and off-plan operators, we have a very diverse thermometer, because we have Dutch clientele companies, and other are Polish and the British and the high segment of the economy with big villas. We have as well off-plan developments in Casares, but also we have off-plan developments in Torremolinos. So in the end, the thermometer that we have in Manzanares is quite...
It's quite telling, isn't it? I mean, it's okay for me to spout some figures about Cloud9, and I'm sure Mia could do the same about her business, but actually, because you oversee so many transactions and with so many different elements of the market and different agents, you're actually best placed to tell us. Mia, what's the story from you in terms of the start of 2026? The rains didn't help, did they?
No, it was a nightmare actually.
Tell it how it is.
And it really was a nightmare, but it didn't really stop us. I mean, I remember years and years ago, we had a similar situation with torrential rain, and it was when I used to take clients out. And my client tried to cancel me, and I said to him, "No, I'm used to this kind of weather. I'm from the UK. Like, come on, let's go." And he bought the property on that day. We went to see some properties, and he bought one. And I still see him walking his dog from when I drive myself to work. He lives in one of an urbanisation near me, and I still see that guy walking his dog. And we bought that on the rainiest day ever. So I kind of think you've just got to get on with it. But we were very fortunate. We seemed to battle against the rain, and we've had a really, really good start. It was Affinity's second best year last year, 2025.
Okay. What was your best?
Our best was 2021.
Oh, okay. Immediately after COVID.
Yeah.
That's
well, not immediately after, but yes, yeah.
Moving into it.
But that was a good year because of the volume. I mean, we did 300 deals. It's a deal a day. It was busy. Now the volume is less, the income is higher because the price points have just risen naturally along the coast.
Yeah.
And as you know, we do the whole coast. That's 180 kilometres of land space that we're covering. So we're slightly different because, if the client decides that they want Mijas that morning and by the evening they want Estepona, we're doing that distance. Yeah. Whereas a lot of the real estate companies on the coast specialise in a particular square mile or square kilometre. So it's slightly different for us because we kind of do the volume game.
Yes. Yeah, that's very interesting.
But,
and who's buying? Is there a pattern emerging maybe compared to last year?
Well, it's really strange because I look at the board at the end of the month and I look at all the nationalities, and 5 years ago it would be 80% British because we're a British agency, and now I'm lucky if I see a Brit on that board.
Wow.
There's one or two, but the rest are everything.
So are they? Is there a dominant market even just slightly with you?
A little bit the Dutch. The Dutch are
okay. That's interesting.
We have a Dutch speaker, we've Polish speaker and things like that. But we seem to always have 2 or 3 sales on the board from Dutch clients. For
Miguel,
us.
how are you finding it in terms of nationalities? Is there a pattern with your clients?
It's quite diverse, but there is a very strong group, which is Holland and Belgium, especially Flemish-speaking part of Belgium. So that will consolidate definitely a super strong group. Then I would say that there is another group of Scandinavian countries, mainly Swedish, and some of them Danish, but basically Swedish and Norwegian, and very little Danish and very little Finnish, right? Okay. So this is another
You haven't mentioned the Brits.
Yeah, the British will be together with the Dutch and Belgian Flemish. I would say that they are really competing to be still number one group. UK has been a very main character in our scene in Costa del Sol for so many years, and even not maybe living the most busy time of, but they're still very important. And so therefore the Dutch, the Scandinavian, the British, and this, there is another new groups coming, like Americans, the Polish, the Poland, that was starting, like very now is a big reality, and of course Marbella is really concentrating as well nationalities from all over the world. Arabic countries like Kuwait, Qatar, and Emirates, there and Saudi, they are still coming over, and they do represent a minority, but always a very consistent group of
minority.
And then every nationality from French as well are really quite important. That was maybe 15 years ago the French were representing very, very, very little, and now French are really coming, and so therefore is quite diverse. German as well, minority, but
isn't it amazing how many sort of, the difference demographically, there's so many micro markets. Yeah. So not only have you got the different markets buying, but you've also got the different markets within the location we serve. That's tough. It's tough to get your head around as an agent, also as a buyer, because you've got to work out all the nuances in the different areas that you're going to be shown. and then you as an agent have got to work out the different nuances with the different styles of buyers that you're going to encounter, all from different cultures and different backgrounds and different languages.
And every nationality has a culture that you
They
learn.
do.
It's really interesting to find out what that culture is. And
well, we've just written a book, and in it we talk about the different buyers and what they
really?
look for. One of them is, the Germans. They want to know what's behind the walls. Like, all the technical rooms and things like that. It is incredible, and of course it doesn't apply to everyone, but but there is a pattern, isn't there? So we've got a broad brush of nationalities buying. Same with us. The Brits are slightly ahead with us, then it's the Americans, but it's little differences. There isn't one dominant market. What are they buying? Are they buying new? Are they buying resale? Are you feeling any pattern emerging?
I see that actually that the diversity of nationalities is our strength, and diversity as well of the categories of properties is also another strength, right? Because when you have a very ultra concentrated market, you depend on that very thing to happen. When you have a very diverse and then one domestic economy can be wrong, or political problems, or whatever it is, but there are all others, and you can really combine and you can adapt, especially in our business, which is a law firm, and we've been assisting clients from every country. We can adapt more towards, and then same thing with the type of properties. I would say that the year 25 has been a fantastic year for off-plan developments. So reports that I have from big operators there, they say that they are as well in record years in respect of the number of developments and the appetite and the speed of sales.
Is that changing? Because I've noticed, and maybe it's just me, but I've noticed a few emails coming in from developers just offering a little bit more commission or a little bit of an incentive. These guys don't have to do this. And I'm just thinking, is it because these just aren't selling at the pace they want? Or maybe it's overpriced developments. I don't know. Are you feeling any pain in the developer market, or is it all still great?
I don't think so. They are really, of course, there are developments everywhere, and there are developments that some of them they need to happen on a certain price, but they're really selling very, very well. And some developments they said to achieve 75 deals in a week. So these kind of numbers that they are happening are with the right location, with the right price, with the right strategy, and so on. So therefore, I cannot really say that there is no clients for that market. I would say that maybe there is specific developments that they are suffering.
Here's a controversial question for both of you. Obviously, there's been a huge volume of new development off-plan sales in the last 12 months. Do you think that buyers are being pushed into new developments when actually a resale property might suit them better, but a new development is an easier sale for an agent or a more lucrative sale for an agent? Because I've noticed, I get my sales guys come to me and say, you can't get anything in Estepona for less than $500,000. And I'm like, I'm sure you can. And I've been online and searched, and there's some cracking resales available for 350, 400, 450. And okay, the new developments might start at 500, 550. But if you look, you can find something, but it might not necessarily be brand sparkling new. So are we, as an industry, are we pushing clients in one direction?
I cannot really say that categorically, and for the global industry, I don't think so. There are really agencies that they have trained brokers more in the sector of off-plan, and they know how to do it. And then there are really some excellent developers and some excellent developments. And you have a brand new property with the right price at the right location, and it's going to be brand new. But some other agencies that I have, they are entirely working in the real sales.
What do you think?
100% of the brokers are working resale, and they do great, and they do brilliant, and they don't use the talent of those brokers to push the clients towards new development. So there are really so many agencies. And so many type of national agencies who specialize in the new developments with certain nationalities. Other resale with British. But
don't you think as a buyer, you don't know if that agency specialises in new or resale, really, because we all claim to offer whole of market choice, don't we? But I just wonder, do clients really understand this?
I think what's happened is, and to the consumer, anybody that's looking for a property watching this won't know this statistic, but within our industry, 20,000 real estate agents left the market in the last quarter of 2025. That's a huge number. That's 20,000 real estate professionals decided to give it up and go and do something else. I think that's more a measure of where the market's going, because it really is the cream is rising to the top. The established agents are gaining more clients, gaining more traction, and the amateurs of the market who maybe they don't have product knowledge like some others, they will home in on one development because they feel confident and comfortable with that, so they'll keep punting it out to the client, and eventually they'll get lucky. I think one of the problems is that sometimes if you're getting some inexperienced real estate agencies on the coastline, they don't have that product knowledge to be able to deliver that information to the client, and if they don't have the information available, they will go with what they know. And sometimes the easiest thing to do, let's face it, is to walk into a sales office where there's a professional standing there and that's going to present it for you. And that, sadly,
I think that's probably what I'm referring to is those inexperienced agents just not having the breadth of knowledge to feel confident sitting down with a client and going, okay, we're going to see this new development, that new development, but I'm also going to show you some comparisons in the resale market. But I don't think that happens with a lot of companies.
And I think, everybody likes to walk into a ready-made property, right, with their toothbrush and a suitcase, and they can start their life in Spain. But in reality, you can buy a slightly cheaper property if it's a resale property that needs a new bathroom and a new kitchen. But does your real estate agent know that even exists? Or have they gone down the easy route and just walked into a show home?
It's very interesting, isn't it? I think there's enough there for probably a whole new episode.
Yeah, that's a whole another one.
What about headwinds and tailwinds? What are we expecting in the year ahead? Are we expecting any problems? Are we expecting us to just bounce along very nicely? Or is something going to come along and kick us in the face?
If I'm allowed to say this, I think you did one of the biggest sales last year in real estate. With in terms of villa sales. So there's definitely this movement of the big budget villa. That's definitely a thing. You've had some incredible clients coming your way, haven't you, with regards to that side of things? You did a large sale in Ibiza, I believe, and some other areas.
Basically, if I like to analyze and I like to be working with you guys to understand what's going to be happening in respect of inquiries. Inquiries are defining very well what the mid-term or long-term is going to be like, especially I would say the mid-term. If we analyze how many clients are coming to our law firm to start legal representation is when they already found the property. But those families that they found their property started to work with you guys with an approach, with an inquiry, and with exchanging emails and telephone calls with telemarketing people, and then arranging a trip and coming over and finally deciding about the property. So therefore, the inquiries happening today are going to be deals happening in April, May, maybe June or whatever, right? So therefore, I like to analyze the quality and the quantity of inquiries and at which level, and it seems to be the case of high quantity and quality of inquiries.
Yeah, our quality is very high at the moment, and the intent is there. Yeah, right. So we've got some good clients on the way, but you're right, because you get them at the point of sale, don't you? So the only way you can gauge real demand is actually
we like
hearing about us.
We are like in a construction. In a construction, you have the people that are starting up with foundation and with structure, and with the and finally the painters and the people are doing the final touches of the. So these are the lawyers, right? The lawyers are the part of this big process where you have to conclude that the buyer wants to buy and likes that property, the seller wants to sell and they like the price he's receiving, and they want to formalize that to be in a notary office in 2 months' time or 1 month and a half. And that's the lawyers. But the thing is, we as lawyers, we have to ask you guys how is going to be, so we have to go to
What's going to happen in
the
a few months'
architects
time,
and say, how many projects
Are you signing?
are you signing? Because if you have many projects, most likely we're going to be painting many communities when they will be eventually finished, right?
Yeah.
So this is a kind of an example of what the position of us like lawyers, and but of course having a very continuous approach and dialogue with many operators from every nationality and from every sector. I would say that everybody is talking about the high quality of leads, of inquiries, and good volume, and the high segment of the market is very healthy, and this is really good in everything, right? Because it's good in the quality of and also is good in respect of the economy of us like operators of the real estate market, because the thing is, you said that the number of deals maybe are not that bigger, but the quality or the prices of the average deal is that this is really increasing and is improving, and this region, I want to believe, this identified like this kind of a region of Spain for.
If you look at this region compared to all the other destinations, and I say it quite often, we are still really well priced. For €500,000 to get a 2-bedroom property that's within a vicinity to a beach, a golf course and a town, it's quite difficult to get that in other destinations, Mykonos, Ibiza, Saint-Tropez. You're looking more towards million mark, you know. So we're still really well priced. Price per square metre, this is good value. It's just the quality has gone up and up and up. And I don't see that changing, because there's a lot of money coming into the economy. There's so many different nationalities.
People want to be here, don't they?
That alone, just having that diversity of nationalities to bring in that culture and that entrepreneurship, that's magic for a destination like Marbella. So I don't see it going anywhere lower. Maybe we'll stabilise, but...
Have we? I mean, I get the feeling we have. I think we had that post-COVID glut of demand where people would almost pay anything. I think now
I think like
buyers are a lot more considered.
But there's nothing on the market, Sean. I wouldn't mind, but I can't get a listing for love nor money at the moment. So it's, you know, we've got 2 guys that just go out there and just try to get listings, and it's tough. You know, if we list 8 in a month, we've done a really good job. You know, some 10, fantastic.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sell. I don't blame them. Why would you? Don't give it up. They've all made loads of money on their properties.
Yeah, because isn't there a case for saying that everything's for sale? You know, when a market matures so much that it reaches not a peak, but, you know, things are a lot of money, I think. Isn't there a case to say, well, everything's for sale if the price is right?
In a sense, yes, but then that person probably doesn't want to give up their lifestyle in Spain, so they've got to buy something else.
That's the key, isn't it?
And what else can they then buy? Because that's gone up too. Then it's I'll just hold.
I think we have got a challenge about some overpricing in the market. I think there's some very, some agents who are a little over-optimistic in terms of pricing. And because it's so competitive in the listing sphere, a lot of agents will just go in and just tell the vendor what they want to hear to secure the listing. And that, of course, artificially inflates the market, and it makes deals harder to get away. So it actually puts pressure on the industry. But it's a natural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is really what I was going to say. This is the inevitably a natural consequence of a very heated period of after COVID. If after COVID you had a very, very hot economy of selling property and selling properties, then everybody speaks to everybody. Everybody is listening of what my neighbor did about the property that he sold. And therefore, this is a spread, and consequently, everybody is really pushing the prices up. When there is a clientele coming over, absolutely. But then all those vendors that they were hearing and getting to know, oh, my neighbor sold in that property. Oh, that property is not like mine. Mine has better views and is bigger and so on. So therefore, he is expecting to make same kind of profitable business. Then when it goes to a reality, and that goes more, but this is a natural consequence of 2021, 2022, those crazy years that pushed many resale deals to try to ask a bit more than natural.
And I do think there's a lag between how sellers are behaving and how buyers behave, because buyers are in the here and now. They will pay what they think something is worth today. Sellers tend to price on history.
On the Guinness record of my neighbor that he did it on 2022. So yeah, and okay, fair enough. Then the vendor is willing to do his best about his property because it's his property, and then he is doing his best, and then the buyers are really more in a kind of very much more mature,
in reality,
calm way, but. In the end, this is really kind of adjustment of expectations and realities, right? So, but this is just an adjustment that many sellers are learning. Okay, maybe I am a little bit too ambitious. I would say, let's put it that way, right? In achieving something that was an exceptional reaction to an exceptional situation that the world had to pass by, right?
And do you think some brokers avoid selling resales because of this very thing, that not every deal gets done, does it? There's a lot of offers that are made, a lot of time that's wasted, but you can't get the two parties to agree a price. So you're back to square one. Whereas obviously with new developments, that's your price, you pay it or not. There'll be someone else coming tomorrow who'll buy it at that price. It'd be much easier. It'd be much easier for me to go and sell new developments.
I know, but then the
would
client
resales.
has got to wait. So that's the challenge, isn't it? Because the client's got to think, well, I can't use it for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's the negative, but equally there's no negotiation. So as a real estate agent, you don't have to know how to negotiate.
You're not brokering a deal.
You don't have to present the property.
No, you don't. You
just have to get yourself to that sales office.
Yeah.
In essence, I mean,
And
there's lots more to it than that.
And I've bought new developments before, and I love new developments. When I started my career in real estate in Spain, I was like new development specialist. I knew them all inside out. But I do wonder sometimes, particularly with the less experienced agents, whether they know that it's going to be tough to get a resale deal away. So I tell you what, let's just park that whole segment of the market and let's sell you something new. And I know this has become a theme for me today. And
I think the resale deal is a safer deal. I am from resale background. I remember when I worked at my first company, who sadly aren't here anymore, but I did 7 years stint at this company, and everybody around me was selling off-plan properties, and I was the idiot selling the resale, right? And really, they were like, Mia, what are you doing? And I'm like, but I just like it. Look, they can see it, they can feel it. And I tell you what, when the market crashed in 2008, it was my resale knowledge that elevated. I survived, and everybody else left and didn't make it. My knowledge at that point was so high compared to everybody else that it kind of saved my situation. And I've always been a bit of a believer in the resale because you can see it, feel it, touch it. The client knows exactly what they're going to get. There's no aftermath. They're very happy because they sign, they walk with their keys into the property, and it's a solid deal. So I don't know. I think everybody should, go for the resale. They should love the resale.
I think what I'm getting at is I think people should be given the option. I think some people are railroaded into buying something new and off plan because it's easy. It is I used to love selling fresh air. What could possibly go wrong? But it's true, isn't it? You're stood on a patch of grass. This is going to be your home. Really? Yeah. Whereas with a resale, it's much more visible and transparent.
Yeah.
But we notice the difference. And sometimes I think, God, why am I bothering with some of these resale deals? But I just think it's important for the experienced realtors on the Costa del Sol to provide whole of market choice, because I think clients need to be educated about all the different nuances, what's available, where it's available, the different price points and all those sorts of things. And sometimes if you're only seeing 30% of the market, you ain't going to know. That's my speech over for today. There you go.
Could be, yeah.
How's the year looking? Good, bad, ugly, indifferent?
I mean, listen, if we have a repeat of last year, fantastic. Super happy.
And do you think you will?
I so far it's looking very promising, and I can't see a slowdown. I can't see anything you know, I say it all the time, but any catastrophe that happens in the world seems to fuel the property market here. So
Just when you think a war is going to kill off
yeah.
Eastern European demand,
you see something on the phone, you're like, uh-oh, and then you think, not for here.
Yeah.
You know, the bubble that we live in.
It's a safety net, isn't it?
It just fuels it and fuels it and fuels it. So I hope that we can be consistent, and you know, if we lose another 20,000 real estate agents in this quarter, that's unfortunate, but also it's fortunate. It's fortunate for others, you know. But ultimately, if you don't know your game and you don't know your knowledge, you shouldn't be in this industry. It's as simple as that. And I've always said that. People that don't want to bother to learn their craft, they don't deserve it.
Miguel, end the story here, sir. What do you think's ahead of us in this year?
I think it's going to be a good year. It's going to be an excellent year. It's very difficult to predict whether it's going to be identical or better, but it's going to be very similar to what 2025, according to the prediction of level, quality of inquiries and the quality of people coming over. So therefore, everything says to me that we're going to have a very similar year. We have a fantastic market for resale, fantastic good opportunities to be identified, to be bought, new developments we have top developers operating in Costa del Sol that they deliver quality and they deliver on time. I say this because of as a lawyer, I always have to be looking at when the date has been promised is really happening, when there is a snagging list. The snagging list is really fixed and repaired on time and at satisfaction of the customer. So therefore, in general, of course, the big majority of all developers are really good and fantastic number of resale opportunities as well. Unique, because every resale, like you said, is very unique, and therefore you are not able to compare kilos of sugar with kilos of sugar. If you go to Carrefour and you buy a kilo of sugar, you can compare it with a kilo of sugar in El Corte Inglés, right? So therefore, this is the commodity of plan development, right? So therefore, the price per square meter, when you compare apples with apples, is really you're comparing apples with apples, right? In the resale market, everything is very different, because there is a portion of the street that is fantastic, and there is a portion of the streets that goes in the shade, or really bad views or whatever. So therefore, the price per square meter, even in the same street, can be very different. And therefore, the role of the broker is to educate and say, listen, every deal in resale is different to every deal. And in developments, it's really more comparable, but not in the market. So therefore, that was really a comment that I was thinking of when you were talking about results. Of course, this needs experience, maturity, and big number of factors that a real broker, many super top professionals in this sector in Marbella can deliver that excellent job. So therefore, I really believe great companies, great attitude and appetite of many buyers from every corner of the world predicted similar year 22-26. Okay. Let's really work to get Absolutely. It to do it better.
I'm going to ask you to finish off with just 2 words each. So I want your prediction for maybe an underdog country of demand, so one we haven't really come across before, that we think might be might have good buyers, and also an area of the Costa del Sol that you think is underrated and that is likely to get more and more popular. Miguel, I'm going to put you on the spot, sir. Go on. So what about a nation that we haven't really seen too much of, that we think might be coming forward?
New. I don't see any very new nationality. I see. I would say that the Dutch market is going to be quite.
So that's going to grow, you think?
It's going to still be very consistent in that kind of pole position car in the race. I think it's going to keep that consistency under my point of view, bearing in mind the Americans are coming and the Polish are a reality already. But I would say that the predictions of that nationality with brokers that are working towards that nationality are very, very solid.
Mia, what about a country for you that you think is
Yeah.
a dark horse?
Not so much a dark horse, but because there's so many more direct flights coming in from America, I think that's going to fuel it.
Okay.
Because it's always been a challenge. We've had one Delta flight, right?
Yeah, I know.
Up until recently. Now we've got like 7 flights direct to New York and other places. And I think already I see Americans coming for 1 or 2 trips to buy their property, you know, and that's a new one for us.
I'm going to go Romania.
Really?
Get
Wow.
more and more.
Do
Somebody
you?
else said it to me a few months ago, actually, and I was like, really? And we're starting to
Wow.
get them. And a place on the Costa del Sol that you think is maybe underrated that has growth potential?
Is very well rated now, but still growing and growing. And Estepona, I would say, is a destination with a very beautiful lifestyle, cleanness, security, gardens, landscaping, pedestrian streets.
It's amazing. It just gets better and better every time I go.
It's already a reality, but it's a reality that is going to grow massively, and I like very much what the mayor is doing in Estepona. José María García Urbano has done a great job, and I think Estepona is going to keep that strength.
Very good. Mia?
I'd second that, and I think I've said it in a previous podcast. I just think it's so professional. It's so impressive what's happening in Estepona.
There's no black marks.
You can't drive down that street and not be just.
Well, you can't drive down the street.
Yeah, you can't drive down it anymore. No, you know the restaurant, the caliber of restaurants, the caliber of developments. You have Tyrion now.
Yeah, I know.
You know, at 3.5 million. If you're lucky, really, you need to go to 6, 7, 8 million for an apartment in Estepona. And we're the new ports coming in Estepona, so there's lots of activity, and it's looking fantastic, and it has done for ages.
Okay, I'm going to go wild card to finish us off. I'm going to say Nerja and that area there.
Didn't they used to call that God's waiting room?
But did I say that?
Is that why you're going there?
Thank you. Yeah. Just watch this space on that sort of Torox and Roquetas. No, not Roquetas. What's the other place? I can't remember.
Well, Tarifa though, that
Torre del Mar.
should be.
Around there.
Yeah, but Tarifa also because there's some investment going into Tarifa with
so
some of the
maybe
big
we're going to
brands.
see
It's
the different ends.
moving out.
Who knows? Anyway, thank you so much for your input. It's been a lively debate, and I'm sure. Well, I hope that you got something out of it. Thanks so much for joining us. Do whatever you have to do: like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. Oh no, that's somebody else. But yeah, look out for the next episode. Thank you so much to my guests, Mia and Miguel, and until next time, a very goodbye.